Hello and welcome to the Focus Hoops WNBA Show. It is Thursday, the 10th of September, 2020. My name is Darren Paul. I am editor of FocusHoops.com, and you're watching episode 8 of the Focus Hoops WNBA Show, presented by mynotch.co.uk. More about Notch later, or should I say more about Notch later? We'll get to that. Joining me tonight, I am delighted to be joined by one Mr. Michael Hansen Morris, 2019-20 WNBL D1 Coach of the Year and upset Boston Celtics fan. How you doing, Michael?
Yeah, good. I've managed to watch a lot of basketball in the last week, and we've had some entertaining and controversial moments, shall we say, across the week.
I think that's one way of putting it. And ordinarily, I would give Kaz the big builder. I would talk about how Kaz is Manchester basketball royalty. However, as Kaz is what can only be described as an absolute salt box, a salt-powered robot, and a Toronto Raptors fan, we're not going to do any of that. Hi, Kaz. Welcome to the show.
That seems fair. And, it's just going to get worse for the Celtics.
Is it? What? You mean the next round of the conference final is going to be worse, is it?
Well, I think Kyle Lowry's just going to destroy them on Saturday. We'll see.
Kyle Lowry. What's the other one? What's the other one?
Kyle Lowry can turn up on Saturday. That's fine by me, because he'll be on the way home by then.
Oh, Houston. That's messy, but that's not what we're about here. So, WNBA Show brought to you by Notch, like I said. And again, more about them later. But I do want to talk very quickly before we get into this week's basketball action. You know that here we like to talk about, we like to give a little platform for charity endeavors. So my friend Angel, she did a charity abseil today in aid of the London Air Ambulance. So an absolutely fantastic charity cause. The fundraiser was a 17-story abseil down the Royal London Hospital today at 3:30. She says she is very fortunate to be raising money for this amazing charity, the London Air Ambulance Service. London Air Ambulance Service is the charity that delivers an advanced trauma team to London's most seriously injured patients, and your donations will help save lives by keeping the helicopter in the air and the rapid response cars on the road, ready for when they are needed most. By providing intervention as quickly as possible after injury, London's Air Ambulance charity aims to give patients the best chance of survival, best quality of life after trauma. There is a link in the description below, so it'd be a really fantastic cause. Check it out, and big shout to Angel, because a 17-story abseil in the middle of London does not sound like my idea of a good time. So huge shout to her. And my sister-in-law works in an air ambulance, or has done at times, in New Zealand. They do an amazing job. So check out that link. It's down in the description. We're here to talk about the WNBA. So let's get it kicked off. Mikey, what have you seen in the last 7 days in the Women's National Basketball Association?
Chaos.
Please elaborate.
I mean, I suppose you have to throw it all the way back to last Friday night. Seattle and LA. And we've had some controversial finishes this year. We've had some interesting ones. I don't know what the general consensus is, but I'd like to say this one was robbery. And it's a shame, because it was one of the best games of the season. It's what we should be talking about, is the first 30. So we should be talking about the whole 40 minutes, but we're now looking at the last 0.8 seconds and saying out of bounds, inbounds. And for me, the answer is out of bounds. And I think LA were really unfortunate. And And
let's just take it back a step. Let's take it back a step. What game are we talking about? Mikey?
LA and Seattle.
LA, Seattle. So two of the pinnacle teams in the WNBA, and it was a real back and forth affair. And then Kaz Bullock picks up the story.
And then we get into the last minute, and game's tied. 20 seconds left. Chelsea Gray's fouled. She has 2 free throws. She's a 97% free throw shooter. Makes one and misses one, which is only a second miss in 41 attempts, and not the best time to miss it. So, So LA were up by 1 then. So it was 87-85. Seattle take a timeout. Brianna Stewart takes a driving layup, ties the game 87. Then LA inbound the ball, and Raquana Williams gets fouled on a layup just under the basket with the time ticking down. So the clock stopped with 0.8 seconds left. Raquana Williams Nope. Well,
no. Yeah.
So Raquana Williams takes 2 free throws, makes the 2 free throws. LA up by 2. Seattle take a timeout, inbound the ball with 0.8 seconds left, and Jewel Lloyd shoots a 3 from the corner, makes it. Seattle win by 1. Now, there was a replay to see if Jewel Lloyd was out of bounds, and it did look like she was, but that's not the decision that was called on the court. So there we have our controversial ending to the game. But also, we've got... Sorry?
No, you go ahead.
Also, so LA at the free throw line, shooting 2 with less than a second left, make both free throws. Now, in that situation, we did question why Raquana Williams didn't intentionally miss the second free throw to run the time down off the clock, because when the ball's bounced off the rim, by that time it's been rebounded, it's going to be very hard to get a shot off. There was no timeout called by Derrick Fisher there, so that's a bit of an odd thing for the Sparks to have done, in my view, as well. So a couple of things in the last 10 or so seconds there that people were talking about.
In what universe was Jewel Lloyd's foot in bounds? Having looked at... Now, I do not have a basketball team in the basketball fight, okay? I do not have any allegiance, nothing. How on earth is her foot not on the line? Which, as we know, is out of bounds, and that would be a turnover, end of game, blah, blah. I don't understand. What's the point of replay? And was it the best angle? Probably not. It was a little bit grainy, but they had a clear shot of it. How is that not out of bounds? Mike Hunter Morris, explain this to me, because my head is baffled by it. I'm not going to lie to you.
It's out of bounds. And the sell bit, and I think when we look at the coverages, did her back of her foot touch the line, and that's maybe where they weren't sure. So what I would say is I'd challenge anyone at home, try and jump at normal height by having the back of your foot not on the floor.
Yeah.
It's doable, but it's very difficult to not have your foot, because naturally you just push her through the whole foot. And she had to get fuller height and extension because it was a contested shot. If she doesn't jump fully, that's getting blocked.
And it was a very well contested shot.
Yeah. So she has to have full raise, and she can't do that if her foot's not on the floor to raise up properly.
Now, was that DPOY candidate Brittany Sykes with a hand in her face?
Yes, it was. Who said after the game she was going to start practicing shooting out of bounds?
That's a great thing to come out of it, is like the petty salt that comes out of these things. Much like your Raptors top right now. Now, I'm gonna look at the other side of it, right? If Jewel Lloyd has been able to make that shot against a serious rival for this title with half a second, when was the shot? Yeah, 0.8
on the clock.
0.8 on the clock. With knowing where she is on the floor, not dipping her heel all the way down, getting that perfect shot up over a really great defender, she might just be the best player who's ever played the game. Like, that is basketball genius. And I'm not saying it's not happening. I'm not saying it's not possible. I don't think it happened in this occasion. But holy cow, how good is Jewel Lloyd if that's the case? And actually, I've just talked myself into I want it to be happening. Go on, Mikey.
She was great the whole game. Right,
yeah.
We need to not forget this fact. And look, there's multiple things that you go into as how the game kind of got swung, and not even on the out of bounds. LA burnt timeouts and Seattle didn't, and that was a huge factor. Seattle had 4 timeouts in the last minute to use. LA had 1.
Yeah.
No. That's a huge difference at that stage of the game. But Lloyd was sensational. I can't remember how many she ended up with. I want to say 28, but I could be wrong.
25. She ended up with a stat line of 25, 2 and 3.
Yeah, and she was great. She was the best player on the floor for long periods for Seattle, and she really kept them in the game at times. Because really, Parker probably outplayed Brianna Stewart on the whole. Stewart got the huge score down the stretch on Parker on a wing ISO that tied the game initially before got it to within one way. Before everything kicked off. And Seattle needed that next player to step up, and Lloyd did. And yeah, if you can hit contested shots like that consistently, it's unguardable. So
yeah,
fair play.
Kaz, I want to just come to you very quickly, but before I do, thank you as always for watching. If you're watching live, if you're watching later on replay on demand, put a comment, give us a comment, let us know what you think. We go through all the comments, and if you get it in live, we'll get it up and discuss it on the show. Just put a comment in, let us know what you make of this situation or anything we talk about or anything you want to talk about. Let us know. We're quite an interactive bunch. Isn't that right, Mikey?
It is indeed.
So, Kaz, as a long-suffering LA Sparks fan, I don't know how long-suffering actually. How many titles is it? Is it 3? 3 titles?
Last one in 2016.
Okay. Last season, a lot of discussion about Derrick Fisher and his maybe his man management or his person management abilities, and have we seen his maybe a managerial or a coaching shortfall in this game? And I know we're looking at this game in a lot of detail, but this is the nature of the WNBA. We have single game eliminations, and then we go to a best of 5 series, so they don't have the luxury necessarily of 7-game series straight off the jump. Okay, teams need to get it right from the off. So that's why we're talking about this so much. Sorry, Kaz, go ahead.
Yeah, there's absolutely no room for mistakes, especially in a single game elimination in the playoffs. I think we've the question of Fisher's coaching and maybe his relationship with Parker has come up a few times. It looks like he and Parker have got sorted out whatever issues they had last season. They've talked it out and things. But I think sometimes examples like this, you sort of question if he's obviously improving on what he was doing, because he's been with the Sparks his 3rd year, I think, and he's improving on it. But there's still these little things that crop up every so often that you think are a little bit questionable. And I guess maybe you learn from them, don't you? So maybe if this situation arises next time, but he's played the game long enough and he's coached long enough as well to sort of preempt these situations. You think he'd be prepared for them. So it is a bit strange. I don't know if there's a bit of a disconnect, or if he just maybe he has the faith in the players that he just wants to let them run out and try it without interfering or using the timeouts as much. But in games like this, I think you do need that, and it's where you see the experience of coaches like Gary Kloppenberg, and when Cheryl Reeve and Sandy Brunell are in there, they're used to managing the clock and things. It just surprises me that this keeps popping up again and again, that it doesn't seem to change. There always seems to be some sort of issue with a coaching question when we're coming to the Sparks. But again, I mean, they lost on a great shot, in bounds or out of bounds, but really as well, they'd got plenty of chances to not have it come down to a 1-point game. So they could have closed it out earlier and they didn't. But I guess hopefully they'll learn from it and try something different next time.
Mikey, coaching head on. Talk to me.
Okay, so late game, there's always questions, especially from a coaching point of view, of what you're going to do, what the best way is. This one's, for me, is straightforward. What advantage do you gain from missing a free throw? What is the penalty for missing a free throw? Well, unless you foul on the rebound, the absolute worst case scenario is a very quick rebound into an immediate timeout, and you lose 3/4 off the clock. That is like the best case Seattle could do on a rebound is call timeout with 0.4, 0.5 seconds left. That is the absolute best case scenario for them. So for me at that point, like, okay, now maybe you're saying, well, does that 0.3, 0.4 matter? Yeah, because if it's 0.4 on the clock, I'm not sure if Lloyd's catch and shoot threes off in time, because she has to kind of square up a little bit and resort her feet just on the catch, just because of the way she went from the low block out to the corner. When you look at like the Anunoby shot from a week ago, was it a week ago? It feels like forever ago now.
Why would you bring that up? Why would you bring such a...
No, but when you look at it, he's facing the ball, feet set, and he can go straight into a catch shoot motion, and he got that off in 0.3. And it was exactly 0.3. So the fact that it wasn't a clean catch shoot release mechanism because she was still just about rolling out to the corner, if that clock had been 0.4, there's a chance that shot is still in her hand and the game's waved off. So for me, there wasn't a lot to lose by missing the free throw, if anything. And I think it's just a mental error, perhaps a bit of stress. And we see it. Ultimately, the reason Sparks had 2 free throws was because Sue Bird made an error. She helped in a position where it wasn't her help. She was over-aggressive and gave up a wide-open cut. And that is 100% on Sue Bird. Unless Seattle have got something really expansive in their scheme, that was 100% on Bird to give up the layup in the first place that led to the foul. So there's so many little factors, but for me, yeah, you have to miss a free throw.
So let's move on to the... Oh, you're right to go to the chase for the 8th seed in the playoffs.
What, you mean another coaching error? Yeah, we can talk about that.
Oh, Mikey with the spice. Okay, here is the picture. We are into the final couple of days of WNBA action, and it is the Dallas Wings in the box seat, 7-3. I say they're in the box seat. Washington Mystics with a game in hand. They could tie them at 7-13. Atlanta Dream 6-14. They are hanging on by a thread. So yeah, I'm gonna back myself and say Dallas Wings are in prime position. But Michael, you've mentioned, again, coming with the spice, a coaching error. What are you talking about? What are you alluding to?
Well, I was going to say the game of the week, but last night kind of changed that. Dallas Mystics, Washington Mystics, and we kind of previewed it last week, and we talked about it being a huge game. Washington up 3, 5 seconds to go, and they decide to let Enrique have the ball. She dribbles down the court and shoots. Nah, foul. 100%. Okay, you can say, what are the percentages of her hitting the shot? Maybe 30%, 33%. If you foul, it's 2 shots. So the way you lose the game is given an offensive rebound. And I'd say that is a lower percentage that you give up an offensive rebound in that situation from a free throw than Enrique hitting a 3. She hits the 3, great shot, incredible shot. Dallas wins in overtime. Mystic season effectively over because Dallas now have the tiebreak, 2-0.
Kaz, any additional comment from there?
There was some very sloppy play from Washington in the last sort of 30 seconds. I think one of the last plays as well, they just passed straight to Dallas. just pass the ball. They just need to be tighter on that. They can't in that kind of situation with playoff hopes on the line. Down, you're up by 3. You need to take care of the ball and look after it. And it was just a bit. Don't know if they ran out of gas. They just looked a bit sloppy there. And obviously Dallas just took over in overtime. After Enrique's shot, the momentum was with them completely, and they just took over.
What are we? I mean, I'm part of me's a little bit impressed that Washington and Atlanta are still in the hunt for it. I thought one of them would have dropped away a little bit more than they have. I don't know. Of course, we saw Indiana and be eliminated from contention earlier in the week with who was that lost to? Who did they lose to? That eliminated them from contention. Was it the Aces loss that officially did for them?
Yes, it was. Yes. Yeah.
So I mean, that's always a tough ask. 86-92 loss to the Las Vegas Aces. Mikey, who is making the playoffs? Oh, Kaz, who is making the playoffs out of these teams?
So I'm sticking by Atlanta. I think Atlanta are just going to manage to do it somehow.
Okay.
I think they got two games left. 2 games left. Washington and Connecticut. Sorry, Connecticut. Washington and Connecticut. They beat Chicago last night, and Dallas have still got to play Chicago. And I'm just waiting for Chicago have obviously been on a bit of a free fall at the moment, but I feel like they're going to at some point put it together. I was thinking it might be last night against Atlanta, but I think it could be the Dallas game because they don't want to be. They're on 4 losses in a row at the moment. They need to snap that before they get back into the playoffs. So I'm going to stick with Atlanta. I said it at the start of the season. I'm going to stick with it, as wild as that is.
That is wild.
It is wild.
That is wild. That is to Chicago. I think you've got a lot of faith in Chicago, and I don't necessarily see it myself. They're on the 3rd worst losing skid in the entire league right now. They're 11-10, 1 final game left, coming up against, like you say, the Dallas Wings, who are, I don't know, they just, oh God, I sound like a football pundit. They just want it more, but they've got that greater level of fighting them right now than I think Chicago do. And Chicago are a bit of a different team since they've lost a couple of players through injury. They're a little bit streaky to begin with. I don't know. The fact that they're turning it like this on-off switch that you're alluding to, I don't know if it's there for them. And especially with such a small sample size, a small season, even if you're locked into a playoff space like they are, they could they, Mikey, I'm sure you know this better than I, but do they have they tied up the 6th seed or could they drop to 7? Do they have the head-to-head with Connecticut, do we remember? Oh, nothing from Mikey right now. Kaz?
I do agree with you. I agree with what you're saying. I just think James Wade is not going to want this slide to continue. He's going to try and do something to stop it and go into the playoffs with a bit of a momentum. How he does that, I have no idea.
I mean, I come back to what's he done the last 4 games?
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they've been unlucky in a couple of the last ones. So they lost in the Atlanta game last night. They were pretty close until about the last 2.5 minutes. And then I don't know if they tied Steph Dolson, just wasn't looking herself, wasn't playing the way she can. Obviously, I think the loss of Diamond DeShields, even though she wasn't properly healthy. Since then, I think, can we tie it into then as well? Since her and Azurá Stevens left, seems to have coincided a little bit.
I think it's really been since Azurá Stevens went down.
Yeah.
So hopefully she is back. Do we have Michael Hansen-Morris?
If you can hear me, yes, you do.
Oh, we've got him back. Mikey, we're talking about the Chicago Sky. And I'm personally worried and not super convinced that they're going to get the win against Dallas in their next matchup. Lost their last 4. Do you recall? Do they have the head-to-head with Connecticut?
I believe they do, but at this point, it's kind of irrelevant. Like we're talking, both teams are now locked in the 6-7 game. So can you argue in a normal season, it's a huge game because we have home court. But because we don't have that, to me, it's who's the home team is pretty irrelevant. So
is it irrelevant though? Let me tell you why. I'm sorry to cut across you. I know you hate this, but Chicago 6-5 at home, a positively good record. Connecticut Sun 3-7 at home. Is there significance there?
Well, what is Chicago on the road?
They are 5-5.
Yeah, so Chicago's record's different. The Connecticut one's strange. Like their issue is they can't beat teams that are better than them. That's an issue. I think there's something like 2-9 with the teams that are above 500 in the league this year. And I know we'll probably talk about it more previewing the playoffs, but that is the question against Connecticut. They've kind of done their job of beating everyone below them.
Yeah.
But then they can't beat the bigger teams. And look, those games both Dallas and Atlanta need. So Chicago would be interesting. Do they rest some players because they play Tuesday? I don't think so. I think there's enough days off, and certainly for me, Chicago are going to be playing because they probably know themselves they need to find some form. I'm going to guess that Courtney Vandersloot does not want to sit. I'm going to guess she's going to have a crack at the 10-game assist number because she needs 13.
13?
That's doable.
In the was it just a 1 game left? 13 in that 1 game.
Yeah, she needs 13 in the last game. So that's doable. So she'll want to play hard and try and go for that, I would imagine. And yeah, like, kind of flipping back, I've obviously missed some of the conversation about the 8 seed, but if Dallas lose to Chicago, Atlanta win out, Atlanta are the 8 seed. Because Atlanta have the tie, it's either the second or the third tie break. Atlanta would have, I think it's the second, because they split the season series 1-1. So all it needs is Chicago to beat Dallas, and it's in Atlanta's hands all of a sudden, which is a huge change. And even the Mystics can't be ruled out. I bet they've got the harder task needing to beat LA, but that Dallas kind of have to win because if they don't beat Chicago, it does open the door for them to be knocked out, and that New York game almost irrelevant potentially on the last day.
So what do you reckon? Dallas, Chicago. Call it, Michael.
I think Dallas just because of the way Chicago are playing, but you could see I think both games are a coin flip. I think Atlanta, Connecticut, and Dallas, Chicago are both coin flips now. Whoever turns up, makes shots, is going to win the game.
Kaz?
It's Chicago. Just make it interesting.
Make it interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know. I reckon Dallas. Have that one.
I think it'll be close. I think it'll be like a 2-3 point game, single possession game.
I mean, listen, this is what goes in their favor. They're playing in a team from the other conference because they are 1-9 in conference. So 6 of their wins have come in the other conference.
Wow.
Also, they are on a 4-6 record, which is the same as the, wait for this, Chicago Sky.
Ooh.
I mean, I'm just saying. Arike Gumbawale, are you going to try and deny Arike Gumbawale?
I think she was denied last night, wasn't she?
Yeah. Second half.
Yeah.
To
be fair, I mean, that is the Seattle Storm.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, they are on another level right now.
And her performance on Sunday was just like ridiculous, 39 points. and being able, the clutch 3 to send it to overtime. Like you are, I know what you mean when you're saying like they kind of look hungrier. They look like they want it more. They're a young team. They want to get into the playoffs, get that experience. And if they were to get the 8th seed, they could very easily, be a team that could upset someone in a 1-game elimination.
So that would be Phoenix in the 5-8 matchup.
Yeah, or Minnesota.
Oh, or Minnesota.
That would be, yeah.
That would be.
So that would be exciting. That would be
the
good. That would be a good matchup.
MVP. The Rookie of the Years. Ooh. I don't know what I like more, to be honest. Dallas versus Phoenix or Dallas, Minnesota?
I think I like Dallas, Minnesota.
Yeah, me too.
I think that'd be.
So we're all in agreement then. Dallas Wings a shoo-in to make the 8th seed.
We want the chaos. We want the games that are going to bring the chaos.
So let's just jump forward to Saturday and Sunday. Saturday's fixtures are the Washington Mystics versus the New York Liberty at 12 Eastern. Aces Sparks at 3 p.m. Eastern. And 6 p.m. Eastern, Minnesota Lynx, Indiana Fever. And then on Sunday, and these are makeup games from a few weeks ago, Dallas Wings, New York Liberty at 12 Eastern. 3 p.m. Eastern is the Las Vegas Aces, Seattle Storm. Are you kidding me? We will be, and I've not agreed this with you two, but shall we do a little watch along of that one? Cheeky little watch along?
Yeah.
Yeah. Michael, are you down for it?
Depends how everything unfolds. I should be down, but we also may have a dead rubber, in which case my attention might be flicked elsewhere in the world.
That's a good point. We'll keep you posted. And then finally, rounding out the WNBA regular season 2020, the clash of the Washington Mystics and the Atlanta Dream.
And that could decide the 8th, couldn't it? It could come down to the very last game of the season.
Could the New York Liberty play Kingmaker? If they lose to Washington, beat Dallas, they could decide. The
way that WNBA seasons work, it makes pure sense that Dallas beat Chicago and then lose to New York.
Yeah.
And the only reason that makes sense is because it's 2020 and it's this season and nothing else seems to make any sense.
And New York, the last couple of games, so Hopkins has sat Zoe B. He seems to be trying out the rookies. He was saying he should have maybe done this a little bit earlier. Obviously, they're eliminated now. And I don't know if he's trying to see what kind of rotations work, what we can get out of the players going into next season.
I mean, let's be honest, they're all playing for jobs right now.
Yeah.
Especially when you've got a bunch of rookies on a team. Like, are they all going to make it back next season to this team?
Probably not.
We wait to see. I'm going to give you guys a moment before we come back to talk about end of season awards. Does that sound good? A little bit of end of season awards chat?
Yep.
Yep.
All right, cool. But before we do, I've mentioned it once or twice before already in this episode of the Focus Hoops WNBA Show, but we are brought to you today by Notch. Notch, the mark of achievement, mynotch.co.uk is their website. And again, I spoke about them a few weeks ago. I'm wearing my Notch in celebration, little gift to myself of completing the Couch to 5K running thing. I can now run like up almost 14 kilometers, which is great. Couch to 5K, it's amazing. And yeah, so to celebrate that, I got myself a nice bit of jewelry. And I'm going to be adding notches as I go on my running and other sporting jersey. So we are delighted to be involved with Notch, who have just launched a basketball collection. The link is in the description to this video. It's also on the screen right now with a number of phrases and customizable notches to go on your bracelet. if you had a career high or a season high in points one day and you want to commemorate that, you can do that. Go onto the Notch website, mynotch.co.uk, collections, basketball Notch collection, and you can edit it. Did you get up a 30-piece? Did you get a triple-double in that NBL game, for example? Get it on your Notch, commemorate it, and enjoy. So check them out. Again, since buying my Notch, they haven't sent me this. I bought it with my own good money. I've not stopped wearing it. Absolutely beautiful, comfortable, and magnets. So it just comes together like that. Right. Michael, before we move on fully, you were going to talk us a little bit about Connecticut Phoenix from last night.
Yeah, that was quite eventful, wasn't it? We talked about potentially what we thought at the time, Dallas, Washington, the Seattle, LA game were games of the season, and then this Connecticut Phoenix one came out of the blue. And I say out of the blue because Phoenix, after about 15 minutes, were up 20 plus. I forget what the actual number was. I want to say 22, but I'm sure I'm probably wrong on that because I was keeping one eye on that while watching the double overtime misery.
You are correct. Sorry, you are correct. It was 22 points.
And yeah, the sort of just flicking through Twitter and other things during the break of the NBA overtime game, as we should call it, is Kurt Miller just going to sit his starters and just give them a bit of a breather? Well, the answer was no, because Connecticut started the third quarter on fire, got it down to 8 or 10 very early on and kept dragging it back, took the lead early fourth, which was remarkable. And then we saw, I think it's fair to say, the most crazy finish of the year in terms of drama, with a Skylar Diggins full length of full court pull-up on the buzzer to force overtime. But that was just one of numerous plays that happened down the stretch that were full of drama. It felt like an elimination playoff game. Both teams just making big shots. And yeah, it was a terrific watch when I sort of caught it up fully. And credit to both teams that didn't really have to have the game. I think Phoenix obviously have still got one eye on the 4 spot, but it is still slim at the moment, with Minnesota only needing the 1 win to clinch. But yeah, they just produced a terrific game of basketball. And well, it's hard to say it's shot of the season just because of the way Jewel Lloyd did it. But certainly the most desperation heave type shot we've seen this year, that again, not quite as good as the playoffs last year, but isn't certainly far out of that conversation.
How good has Skylar Diggins Smith been, and has her game improved? Sorry, that was more of a declarative statement of how good has she been. Outrageous. Has her game come up a notch since they've lost Brittany Griner? Is that just my imagination, or is that a thing that we really think's happened? Michael Morris again.
I think you've hit the nail on the head, and I think we kind of talked about this in the group chat back end of last week. I want to say it was after the show that we kind of talked about it a bit more and realised we didn't talk about it. But Phoenix have been great since Griner's left the wobble. There's just no two ways about it. Are they a better team without her? No, because it's Brittany Griner. But Taurasi has stepped up big time, and we talked about her threes again. She made another 5 last night on her way to 28. Diggins Smith has looked like one of the best players in the league, certainly in the last 2 weeks. And they've had contributions from the others. Kia Vaughan's done a solid job of filling in for Griner. She's certainly not put up the numbers in scoring that Griner can do, but she's out rebounding her to, or certainly matching her rebounds depending on the occasion. And yeah, Phoenix it was kind of like, oh, they've lost Griner, now what? Because they were like 7, 8 seed, 500, and you thought, oh, it's going to be a struggle. But they've generally played terrific basketball outside of really the second half last night, in the last 2-3 weeks. So yeah, you can't say they've been hurt by Griner leaving, which is staggering, really.
And Kaz, bring you in on this. It's not how we thought things would go from the start of the season, and when it was announced that she was stepping away from the team for during the bubble. I didn't expect it going this way. I don't know about yourself.
No, not at all. I mean, like, you take Griner out, one of the best players in the league. How do they get better somehow? But they seem to have. I think they play a faster pace without her, and the ball movement flows a bit better. I guess if she's there, she's down in the center. You kind of know the ball's coming into her. Because why wouldn't you? Because she's her size, her position, the way she plays, she's going to be able to get the shots up. But without her, I guess you kind of leave others a bit more open. It's a bit more free flowing to do that. But it is a real surprise to see. But it's really good to see as well, and it's really good to see Taurasi playing some of her best basketball. The only thing that kind of sticks out to me a little bit with them is on their 6-game winning streak they had. In the last, I think it's the last 8 games, only 2 of the teams they beat were over 500 teams. So they have, I don't know what it is overall, but when you look at the 6-game win streak, it's maybe not quite as impressive as it looks first off. I mean, it is obviously now that they're playing with 7 players and they're just losing players pretty much every week. They have just signed Alicia Jenkins. She was on the bench, but I don't think she was ready to play last night. But that's a worry for me in the playoffs, that they could struggle with 7-8 players on the bench. And last night, actually, their bench players, so their 2 bench players, played more minutes than Connecticut's bench players, which seems a bit crazy.
Oh, the question that I had for you, Kaz, has completely escaped my mind, which is really, really, really unfortunate and quite annoying. Now, what I would say to you, it's just come back to me. What I would say to you regarding they're losing games, or sorry, they're beating teams lower than them. You have to win those games.
Absolutely, yeah.
Like, you have to beat who's in front of you, and if you use those games as a platform to launch off of into a playoff run, I mean, for me, they're in really good position right now to maybe make a bit more of a run than they were, prior to their recent run of fixtures. I don't know what you think about that, Kaz. Yeah,
no, I think you're right as well, because even you playing the lower seeded teams, and I think they destroyed New York a couple of weeks ago. You get that momentum. You get in you're getting into the rhythm, finding what shots work, getting used to playing together, and it obviously just builds the confidence as well. So, I know I've just said it's against. They've only won 2 against 500 teams, but a 6-game win streak's a 6-game win streak, essentially, isn't it? That's going to give you the confidence. You're going into them, and in that they beat Vegas and Minnesota as well. So they're not just above 500 teams. But yeah, I totally agree. It gives them really good momentum, and they are a scary team to play in the playoffs. Again, single elimination. You don't want to come up against them.
Now, again, Mikey, we're going to come to you just very quickly for your coaching view on things. Obviously, the side you coached this year, very, very strong. You came up against sides that you were expected to win. How did those fixtures help you gain and maintain momentum for when you had the real big challenges in your path?
I mean, obviously the situation is a little bit different. Yeah. That there's okay, maybe you can argue New York this year, but outside of that, there's a sub 500 team, but Atlanta aren't a bad basketball team. The Mystics aren't a bad basketball team. Indiana struggled at the last 10 games, but are still a good team. They've still got good talent, and on their night, anyone can beat anyone. And we've seen that all year. So the fact that we haven't had an upset in a 6-game win streak is almost more impressive, because the way the season's gone, you feel like at some point Atlanta and Indiana are more than capable of just snatching that win. But you always want momentum at this time of year, and that's the thing, that winning breeds winning. That's just the thing. It's a lot easier to have that winning mentality and to understand what it takes to win, no matter how it is. It's nice to mix up winning a couple of close ones with some more blowouts, shall we say, just because you are going to come across a tight game at some point. But the way Phoenix has been playing, held New York to 67 in the win, beat Indiana by 24, and they had beat Mystics by 20. So the wins have been convincing, and that's a really important thing, that they've just been really smooth. You can see they're playing better, and you said it, they're a scary team. I'll say it now, I would not be surprised if we do not see Phoenix in the effectively conference finals, in the Final Four. I would not be surprised.
Why?
Sorry.
Why?
Why?
I like the matchups. Let's just say they finish 5. The experience, the way they play, you feel like they'd be favourites against Dallas or Atlanta, most likely. Could be Washington, but you feel like they're favourites in there, and then they're in a one-off game with Minnesota. And the knock on that Minnesota team is they haven't been there and done it in the playoffs with this group. They've lost so much experience. Sylvia Fowles' status is questionable. Is she back? Is she not going to be back? And I would look, if it is Phoenix, Minnesota, it will be a great game. There's no two ways about it. But I would give the slight edge, the way they're playing at the moment, to Phoenix in that game. And then suddenly they're in the Final Four, and that's 2 games. And it's crazy that the WNBA season is so rapid, that it changes so quickly, that any team is 2 games away from making a Final Four.
Kels, you wanted to come in there?
Sorry, I just wanted to jump back to what you were saying about Skylarkin Smith. So in her last 7 games, she's had 33, 16, 30, 28, 20, 25 and 24 points. And she has been having a great season. But I just want to point out, so we talk about the players that come back from injury and get back to the level that she's at. She was out last year because she gave birth. And that can be a really hard thing for players to get back into the same sort of physical shape, mental shape after giving birth, and come back into it. And she has not missed a beat. She is up to game completely. And I just think that's great. That's just another one of the things that these women in the league go through as well, and just something that they're coming up against. She's absolutely astronomical, and I've said it before, it's a shame the way things went in Dallas, but she's thriving in Minnesota. She's thriving with the Phoenix Mercury, and long may that continue. Now, on to our award nominations. We are going to have a quick chat. We're going to work out the award nominations for the regular season. We will be back on Monday for a special live look previewing the playoffs, because we will have all the matchups confirmed by then. We may have them before. And we will dish out the end of season awards. So, first up, team of the year. Who's been your team of the year? I know this is kind of a weird question, because this isn't an award that really gets dished out in basketball. By the way, if you're watching live, if you're watching on demand later, firstly, thank you so much for joining us on the FocusHoops WNBA Show. Get your comments in. Who is your best team in the WNBA 2020 regular season? Let us know. Kaz, I've sprung this one on you. Who's impressed you the most this year? What team has impressed you the most? I'm gonna say LA, because obviously I am a Sparks fan, but I didn't expect them to be kind of this good this season. I didn't think that they're in position to get the two or three seed. And with Candace Parker coming back off a bit of an injury, they picked up Simone Augustus. They had a bit of a reshuffle. They were expecting Chrissy Tolliver in, and they picked up Taya Cooper. They've lost 3 games, and some of the performances have been really, really strong, really together. I found them really fun to watch. Watching Brittany Sykes on defense, she'll take on the defensive assignments, and that's sort of a position that you don't always, maybe it's not always reflected in the stats, but she goes out and she plays. She's leading the league in charges. Taya Cooper's up there in charges as well. They're just a really solid team, and they're really fun to watch. And what I like is the enjoyment that the group has when they're playing together. You can see it on their faces when they're playing. You've seen Candace Parker when she's taking a charge and throwing herself on the floor and just like screaming because she's so happy that she's done it. It's a really fun group of players to watch, and they've exceeded my expectations. So I hope they keep doing that and exceed it all the way to the finals.
So that is Kaz locking in her nomination for the Team of the Year, being the Los Angeles Sparks, in possibly the second least surprising nomination from Kaz we will see tonight, no doubt. Mikey, your Team of the Year. By the way, reminder, get your comments in. We want to know who you think is being the best team in the WNBA 2020 season. Let us know. Mikey.
I'm going to say Minnesota, but there's an argument for 5, maybe 6 teams to be talked about. Whoever wins the regular season, and that's why it's broadening it up, because it's not going to be an easy regular season to win. If Seattle win out, they go 19-3. It's going to be a struggle to not give it to them, but they've got 2 tough teams left in Phoenix and Vegas. So I'm going to go Minnesota, surely because no one expected this. This is a team that were potentially missing the playoffs. We sort of thought they might be in this 8-9 seed battle. Their projected win total was 9.5 wins, and they've smashed it out of the park. They've got 13. You'd probably say they're going to beat Indiana, so we're certainly talking 14 with a maybe outside shot of 15 wins, and they're the team that we just didn't expect it from. You could argue a case that Connecticut, a Phoenix, even to some extent start season, Washington could be a 2, 3, 4 seed. No one saw this in Minnesota, therefore I think that's what gives them the edge. But you've got a case for Sparks, you've got a case for Vegas, you've got the case for Seattle, and if Atlanta sneak into the playoffs, or Dallas, whoever makes that 8 seed out of Dallas and Atlanta, they've got a strong case because Dallas was projected 6.5 wins, worst team in the WNBA. So if they make the 8 seed, that's massively overachieving as well. So it's tough, but my vote right now would be Minnesota.
Okay, well we're gonna have an off-air discussion, probably on Sunday evening, working out just who. Maybe even a Twitter poll. Oh, Twitter poll. That's a good idea. See, now that you've said the Dallas Wings, I'm thinking, are they Team of the Year? But my first instinct is to go with the Las Vegas Aces. And let me explain why by talking about the Seattle Storm. The Seattle Storm have been the New York Yankees of this season. They have just steamrolled near enough everybody. Who didn't they steamroller in particular? The Las Vegas Aces. We find out on Sunday when they go head-to-head one last time in the regular season who is the better team of those two on their day. So I'm going to go with the Aces. They had a really tough start to the preseason. They were training with 4, 5, 6 players. They had Bill Lambert with the jazz hands. They had Headband Bill. They've brought a lot to the WNBA this season. And I don't think we expected them to be all right. We expected them to be a decent playoff team. I don't think we expected them to be 15-4 with a potential to go, what would that be? 17-4 when it's all said and done. Is that right?
18-4.
Is my math? Sorry, 18-4. My apologies. 18-4 when it's all said and done. I don't think anybody was predicting that, so I think they've really outshone what many expected. But yeah, like you said, Michael, lots of great teams in this WNBA season, and if Seattle do end up winning out, finishing with a 19-3 record, they will be under some serious. We'll be looking at them very seriously for Team of the Year. But we've got to take more than just, are they the best team? I don't know. All right, we move on to Most Improved Player. Most Improved Player. We're going to go with Kaz again. Kaz, get the ball rolling.
So I think there's two players that are so close in this, and that is Bernard Laney for Atlanta and Maisha Hines-Allen. But my vote would go to Maisha Hines-Allen because I think that she just edges it because of the nature of her improvement. So she's gone from averaging 2.3 points a game to 16.9, 2.1 rebounds to 8.7 rebounds, less than an assist to 2.5, and 7 minutes a game to nearly 30 minutes a game. And she was coming off the bench, and she's a starter. And Laney, her stats have been very impressive, but her minutes have gone from 25 minutes to 32 minutes, and she has the experience of starting. So the reason that I think Hines-Allen edges it is because she's just transformed from, a sort of very few minutes bench player into a starter that's getting doubles practically every other game. She's ninth in scoring in the league and third in rebounds. She was triple teamed in one of the games by Minnesota the other day. It just shows the impact that she's having. And she's done this on a team, which we know is in Washington are just out of the playoffs. They've got the chance for the 8th seed, but she's been doing this without the stars in Washington. So she's managed to up her game, get those wins that they have, improve in every category, basically without, the core players around her. And I just think it's incredible to watch, to see that transformation. And she said in a couple of interviews, it's her 3rd year in the league. She could have sat and sulked the first 2 seasons because she wasn't getting to play. But she's like, well, look what's happened now. I've kind of got that underdog mentality, and I've got my chance, and I'm going to show you what I can do with my chance. And she's very well deserved, I think.
Mikey, who've you got?
I think the same two are certainly fair. Again, this could come down to who gets the 8th seed. If Atlanta get into the 8th seed now and Laney plays well in the next 2 games, then that's. I know the numbers behind Allen so big in terms of a jump, but if Laney and Atlanta make the playoffs, I think there's an argument there. It's just tight because you've got a lot of big improvements. But I think Kaz hit the nail on the head with the two that I think are probably 1 and 2 right now. And I will probably... I think that right now you go with Hines-Allen because neither team win the playoffs. But if Atlanta make it, I think that's what would push me over to go into Laney.
I'm going to go with Betnaja Laney. I've just really enjoyed her game and her progression this season. And yes, she played a lot of games last year and a lot of minutes. But, here's an old graphic that I've not yet taken down. Who's there front and center amongst some of the best players in the league? It's Betnaja Laney. So I think she's been absolutely tremendous this year. Her stats are, a huge jump from last year. Okay, she was playing 26 minutes a game last year. She was only averaging 5.6 points per game. That's tripled to nearly 17 points per game. Her rebounds are slightly up. Her assists are up from 1.7 to 4.1. She's taken a huge step. She's am I too strong to say a potential foundational piece for this Atlanta Dream team moving forward, her, Carter, what other pieces can they get around them and really build? Of course, Courtney Williams, what other pieces can we get around to build longer term? Betnaja Laney, most improved player for me. And again, well, I think we'll put this over to a vote. Is there a third player that we can throw into the conversation, just in terms of a third vote, perhaps?
Kalia Copper for Chicago. So she's improved from 6.7 points to 15.2, 1.9 rebounds to 4.6, or just under 1 assist to 1.8, and she's sort of doubled her minutes from 14 to nearly 30. So yeah, she's definitely had an impact as well. I just think the other two maybe edge her a little bit with the production that they've had.
Mikey, you happy with that as a 3 to go out on a Twitter poll?
Something between now and Sunday might make me change my mind, but there's no one else that kind of racer next, that sort of below 2 for me. There's a couple of other names, but I think Copper's probably the one, because Chicago kind of made the decision that this is the piece they wanted to build around. And outside, well, it's hard to say she's been the best player because Van der Sloot's in MVP conversation, but Copper's kept them in so many games in big spots, and she's scored so efficiently that she's kind of taken that step towards superstardom, and that's something that's difficult to do, is go from even a good player to a superstar. So yeah, I'm happy with her for now, but again, we've still got a lot that can change.
Yes, we do. 6th Woman of the Year nominations, and again, we're going to kick off with Cats.
So I've got my 2 here, Derrick Hamby and Raquana Williams of obviously Vegas and the Sparks. Derrick Hamby won it last year, and I think she's probably going to repeat with this. She's coming off the bench, obviously, averaging 19.7 points, 8.3 rebounds, 3.6 assists, 1.7 steals, and 1.3 blocks. Sorry, that was wrong. That's Brianna Stewart. Derrick Hamby is actually averaging 13.2 points, 7 rebounds, 2.2 assists, 1.7 steals in 27 minutes. And Vegas's bench is actually leading the league in points, assists, rebounds, steals, field goals made, and field goals attempted. And I think the majority of that is Derrick Hamby. She's such an important piece for them. Coming off the bench and being able to lead that second unit is really important. It really helps Vegas into the position that they've been in, being able to win all those games against teams like Seattle. Raquana Williams is doing it in less minutes, so she's only playing 20 minutes a game. She has missed a few through injury, and her stats are a little bit less. 10.8 points, 1.7 rebounds, 1.4 assists, 1.2 steals. But Raquana Williams is the kind of player that will dive after loose balls, take charges, throw herself off the court. Again, some of those some of those plays that aren't reflected in the stat sheet. But I think Hamby will edge that.
Mikey?
I think the other one I'm going to throw in, and this is where we sort of have to talk about eligibility a little bit, is Bria Hartley. Because obviously she's missed the end of the season, but she came off the bench 10 times. So we're going to say effectively half the games by the time the regular season rolls around. In those games, she averaged 15 points, shot 40% from 3, added nearly 5 assists. So she's one I'd probably throw in the mix. Again, Jackie Young's been great for Vegas off the bench as well. But yeah, I think I would probably edge Hamby over Williams, with sort of Hartley and Jackie Young behind. Just because Hamby's been such an impact in terms of efficiency, and that's where she kind of just edges it for me. Shooting nearly 56%, 47% from 3. I know her minutes are up, but that's kind of the key thing with the 6 players, is that person that you bring off the bench and will always close a game. And that's sometimes what Williams doesn't quite do. Sometimes she does close for Sparks, but other times she doesn't. but Hamby is pretty much a consistent on that Vegas team in the last 5 minutes of the game. So I would probably give her the slight edge right now.
Yeah, I would have to go Derrick or Hamby. You guys have made the case really well for her. She's been excellent. You've also mentioned Bria Hartley. And I just want to mention Jackie Young. Jackie Young has been impressive for me. 11.3 points, 4.1 rebounds, 3.1 assists, and she seems to be doing it in the big moments. So she is somebody to get a mention for that. Shall we lock down our 3 nominations for this then? So definitely Derrick Hamby. Mikey, another nomination?
I think Raquana Williams should be on there.
Okay. Kaz?
Should we go Jackie Young, or just for the amount of games that hasn't been played by Hartley?
So Hartley started 10 from the bench. Jackie Young started 19 from the bench.
Jackie Young.
Okay. Could it be a Clippers situation? DPOY, or do we just go straight to Rookie of the Year?
We don't need to do Rookie of the Year. We know who that is, so we can go for whatever you want after that.
Well, let's just for humour me, Michael. Give me your Rookie of the Year nomination, Michael Hansen-Morris. Kaz, we don't need to go to you. It's Candy Pie.
Kaz changed her mind earlier.
I didn't change my mind. It wasn't a mind change.
Yeah, I think the discussion is like we can have it, but Crystal Dangerfield's been exceptional, 2nd round pick as we know, and is going to lead Minnesota to a top 5 finish, having some big shoes to fill, and she's done a great job. She's scored down the stretch. She's come up big in tough moments for Minnesota. So for me, it's Dangerfield.
Okay, for me, it's probably Dangerfield, though. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens by Sunday evening. Satu Sabali is definitely the 3rd player on this particular docket. Right, final one. MVP nominations. I need to hear what you people think for MVP nominations for the WNBA 2020. Mike Hansen-Morris, let's kick off with you. We're going to switch things up on you, Kaz. I'm sorry.
Parker, Vandersloot, Wilson, Stewart. They're my 4.
No more need be said.
I feel like I've missed someone, but they're kind of the standouts.
Bonner? Or is she not there?
She's again. This is the thing. You start talking
maybe,
about
yeah.
For me, Collie has been exceptional at Minnesota this year. Taurasi, I know Phoenix have played great the last 10, 15 games. She's up at nearly 20 points. And then if you're talking about Taurasi, do you add Diggins Smith? Like, this is where the list can kind of extend. So I've tried to go 4, but there's certainly an argument that a few more are in the discussion.
So here's my thinking with Vandersloot. Great player, had a fantastic season individually, and I suppose MVP is an individual award. But her team is currently 11-10, and that's where I'm at with Bonner as well. Brilliant player, dragging her team, or maybe not dragging, but a very large part of the reason why her team are where they are. But are we rewarding being 500 as an MVP? I don't know. For me, Wilson definitely on that list. Parker definitely on that list. Stewart definitely on that list. And if Sloot can get 13 assists, then she's on that list. Definitely.
That's controversial.
Why is that controversial?
What happens if she gets 12? She doesn't make the list because she's 1 assist short over 22 games.
Yes.
Okay, I'll say this about Van der Sloot. Chelsea Gray is 3rd in the league right now in total assists. She has 103. So 3rd place in the league has 103 assists. Van der Sloot has 207. If that's not domination, and someone, by the way, that Van der Sloot has I would say an outside shot. I'd need to do the maths, but she's got an okay shot at the 50, 40, 90 club as well.
Why didn't you lead with that? Always lead with that. Always lead with that.
Because I think she'll miss it, but it won't be by a lot. She's at 48.8% field goal percentage, 40.5 from 3, and 89.1 from the line. So it's doable, but I need to track the numbers to see what she'd need in the final game. But
yeah,
she's very close to that, and we know what a club that is. She's got 8 double doubles, which is got to be up there in league high. And let me just do. I think only Candice Parker's got more. Parker's got 9, so she's 2nd in the league in double doubles. But the assisting just jumps out. To double 3rd places total is something that we've never seen before, and that's why, despite the record, that I don't think we can take that away from her.
No, I do like the fact that if I penalised for 1 assist in a season, but she wouldn't make the 50, 90 club, let's say, based on 1 missed free throw, I'm the bad guy. Nah. Kaz?
If Courtney Van der Sloot does get to the 10 assists a game average, that translates to 12 assists a game in a 48-minute game, which would lead the NBA in assists every season since 95-96. It would translate to that, which is just... So in that context, that's very impressive.
Pretty amazing. Unless you can come up with an amazing argument for somebody else, I think that might be our 4, Kaz.
Yeah, that's my 4.
That's your 4? All right, that's Arike Gumbawale for an outside 5th?
Not yet.
Not this year.
Not yet.
Oh yeah, I think her scoring's there, her efficiency isn't, and that's kind of the issue. That she's shooting 39-40% from the floor across the season, and everyone else is up in that 45-44 range. I'd need to see exactly where in the league it would put her 40%, but I feel like that's probably bottom half. Let's just look. She's 94th in the league.
Okay.
Out of
okay. So that's
players.
What's that? Bottom 25%? No, not quite.
Probably a little bit up from that, but
yeah. Bottom 3rd, maybe. When we're doing this in the 2022 season, what names do you reckon we've got on this list? Wilson, Collier, Agumbawale, Stewart,
Ionescu.
Oh, maybe.
Carter.
Yeah.
Carter.
Collier.
Yeah, Collier.
Oh, you said, sorry.
I went Collier,
Dangerfield, maybe?
Yes, yeah. Oh, mate. I'm so excited for the 2022 WNBA season. It's going to be great. I'm going to bring it to you here on Focus Hoops.
I mean, look, you never quite know yet. I mean, can we rule out someone like a Brittany Griner?
No, that's true.
Jonquel Jones.
Jones.
Where's she going to be in a year or two? Like, and that's the thing. This league is so talented, and it's so fun that we're talking about someone that leads the league in scoring, and we've not got her in the top 5 in MVP conversation. That's the depth and talent at the top end of this league, and that's with so many players opting out as well.
So, Michael, as it stands today, who's your MVP?
I'm not going to say because I don't know, because the game's coming up. we see Wilson, Stewart, Parker all play against each other.
Yeah, true.
And that to me is probably going to be the deciding factor, is how they look in head-to-head matchups, because they're all going to guard each other and play against each other. So I think the final weekend's going to sort it for me.
Kaz, have you got somebody locked in right now?
As of right now, I think it's Breanna Stewart, because I think she's the best player on the best team. Let's see what happens at the weekend, though. But I think that's what it is. And she's been doing it with injuries to players on Seattle, whereas Vegas and LA haven't had any kind of major injuries, people sitting out. Jordan Canada's been out, Sue Bird's been out, Sammy Whitcomb's been out. So Stewart for me at this very moment in time.
At this very moment in time. I'm inclined to go with Mikey, and we'll see what we're saying on Sunday night. But for me, might be Asia Wilson or Courtney Vandersloot. Those would be, if I had a ballot right now, those are the two that I would be looking very closely at. So, unless I'm missing anything, that is going to pretty much do it for another episode of the Focus Hoops WNBA Show. And today was presented by Notch. Again, link in the description, mynotch.co.uk. Let me just make sure I've got that right. I was correct. Go and check out their basketball collection. Go and get yourself a beautiful Notch bracelet and get yourself a load of notches on there. Mikey, anything from you before we go?
Well, last week you asked for an update.
Oh, go on then. Give us your update.
Of your elusive 50-40-90 club.
Oh, I didn't think we were getting this.
But we do have one person as of now, and there are a few that could still do it. But as of now, we have someone that is in it.
Who's in it?
Sydney Wise of the Sparks. She is at 50.5% from the floor, 47.2% from three, and 91.7% from the line. The only kind of question is has she shot enough free throws?
How many she shot?
Trying to do the maths, but she shot about 10 or 11 on the season. She's
less than one a game.
6 a game.
We looked this up, and I don't think. What's the minimum that we saw? Minimum free throws, wasn't it like 100?
Yeah, but obviously that's in a scaled season.
Well, that's in an 82 game season
as well. You're certainly not. Yeah, like it's what we define as eligibility. But if we're purely looking at just numbers, of everyone that's played at least 10 games this year, Sydney Wise is in the club.
See, now for me, I think that's the more interesting cut-off. How many games have you played? Like, if you've played one game and had a bloody great, efficient game, you don't count. But if you've played at least 10 games, for me, I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about real hard. Kaz, what do you think? Kaz is going to make the ruling on this one. She is royalty in Manchester basketball.
Yeah, I think you need to play the games. Play a certain number.
Play a certain number.
11.
What?
11
10?
This season.
So you think you need 50% of the games played.
Yeah.
Do you require X amount of shots to be taken?
Yeah, because you could. Sorry, you can't come off shoot one free throw, one 3-pointer, and one field goal, make them all. Kamaya Smalls did.
Well, yeah, I mean, she's got to have a minimum games played, because Smalls is 58% from the floor, 85.7% from three, and she hasn't missed a free throw. The problem is she's played 5 games. And
I was going to say.
she's
what a great 5 games here for her debuts.
Really efficient. Yeah. But that's why, and this may be what we'll discuss over between now and the weekend, is what the criteria is. I think Wise is probably on the outside of it. I probably think you need more free throws, but she could go 10 of 10 from the line, and that might push her up to 1 a game, and that suddenly puts her in it. But just in terms of pure numbers, she is currently in it, which is nice.
That is nice. We do like a good 50-40-90. Kaz, anything from you?
I was going to say, so Vandersloot is playing for all the records in this last game. The assists, the 50-40-90, and this is why you see Chicago are just going to come out and do something.
All right. So that is going to do it for us today. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Kaz. And thank you for watching, for joining us. Just a reminder, Angels fundraiser for London Air Ambulance Charity. There's a link in the description below. She abseiled down 17 stories. Count them. That is a lot today on her journey to raising some money for them. So go and check it out. Check out the link. And of course, thank you to Notch for sponsoring today's episode. Go and check them out. Go and get yourself a beautiful Notch bracelet and celebrate your successes or just your love of the sport of basketball. Huge thank you again to Mikey and Kaz. And from me, thank you so much for watching, and we'll speak to you